Greetings, Mason Storm here. Today we're going to be making some shepherd's pie. Although according to Wikipedia, this is cottage pie. It's very delicious and this recipe is really easy to make and it's just fantastic. So let's get started. To begin with, I've got a medium-sized onion that I've diced up, a couple potatoes that I've peeled and chunked a little bit. I've got about a kilogram of beef, and I have a liter of broth. You probably don't need all that much, but I had a box of it and that's kind of what it was. To begin our process, I'm going to be boiling the potatoes. I'm doing the cold water, add the potatoes to the pot, boil method as opposed to the tossing potatoes in boiling water method. I find it works a little bit better. Meanwhile, we're going to start working on our beef. So I got the big skillet on the stove top. We're going to go for a nice high temperature, get a little bit of olive oil in the bottom there, and toss in our onions. I like to give our onions a little bit of time to sit before I throw in the meat, so I gave it a couple minutes. And now we're going to toss in our beef. Just like so. Perfect. And now we just keep stirring it and breaking things up till we have ourselves some nice browned beef. While you're doing this, keep an eye on your potatoes. If they start boiling over, that can be a little bit of a problem. Although if you started both at the same time like I did, odds are your potatoes aren't going to start boiling till your beef is already browned. So there's always that. And once our beef's all brown, we need to take it up to the next level. So we're going to add some broth to our beef. You probably need just a little bit of a covering. I had the box opened and figured I might as well use it all, which was probably a little bit too much. Anyway, you want to have it nice and covered because there's so much flavor in the broth and this is going to imbue the meat with perfection. And then we're going to reduce the heat of the stove so that it just kind of simmers away, and it's going to simmer for probably, I don't know, 45 minutes or so till a lot of the broth will evaporate and the juices will get all into the meat. Meanwhile, our potatoes will be getting close to ready at this point. It takes probably 15-25 minutes to boil potatoes till they're tender enough. You can just poke them with a fork or a knife to see if they're ready. Of course, once our potatoes are properly tender, we'll drain them off, add them back to the pot. A little bit of butter and cream, mash like crazy, throw in some salt, mash a little more, see how they taste, and go from there. Of course, you don't want to over mash them, that can be quite disgusting. It gets like gluey. But once we're done having fun with potatoes, it's time to return to our meat stuff. So let's do that now. Our juices are all drained and boiled away, so we're able to assemble our shepherd's pie. I'm using a loaf pan here. I could use a bigger pan, but I find it difficult to spread potatoes out, so I have better luck with a smaller pan, and then I can put a lot more potatoes on the top and it's easier to get the layer right. You can try to get a thinner layer if you want, but it's kind of tricky to spread it because the potatoes stick to the meat, and then when you shuffle it, it like lifts it up and that doesn't look very pretty. I found this to be a very good compromise for making my shepherd's pie. The other way too would be to just make a lot more potatoes and a lot more meat, and then you can really make a bigger pie quite a bit easier, but don't really need to make that much food for one meal. But if you're having people over, guests, by all means make a larger set of shepherd's pie because it's quite delicious. And now you can kind of texture the top of your pie with the fork, and you can kind of make these kind of mountain things, and when you bake it you can really get a lot of texture that way, but I ended up going with more of a smooth finish. Now we can simply insert the shepherd's pie into the oven, 400 degrees or so, and we're just going to cook it till it's golden brown on the top. And it will be nice and warm and hot, ready for serving. There we have it, some lovely shepherd's pie. Let me know in the comments below how you make yours. I know my grandma, she used to put peas in it and that was pretty good as well, but I couldn't find any when I was looking. So that's why I can't call this officially grandma's style, but that's neither here nor there. So if you like my content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome.